Welcome to Prime Life. We call it Retirement 2.0. Leave each episode with tips and new ideas to help you navigate retirement in our new age. It's your time. Make it count.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler with another episode of Prime Life. Laura, how are you?
I'm doing well today, Paul. I'm excited to be here, excited to be with this group again, and can't wait to kick off the conversation.
Yeah, we've got a great author about to join us to talk through his book about, I don't know, I would describe it as kind of re-energizing your life, finding new purpose. But let's see how, it's interesting when you read a book, how does everybody else read the message? So, Joseph, how would you describe what you think we're going to talk about today?
Positivity, happiness.
Yeah.
See where that goes, right?
Yeah, Mary, how about you? And why don't you do the introduction too? Well, what is this what's this conversation going to be about today?
I think it's going to be about being aware or seeing the possibilities of the unexpected.
Yeah.
The unexpected, right? So great. Love to introduce our guest, Darrin Tulley, founder and chief of the possibilities at Ignite Happy and author of Live Your Possible. Darrin, tell our audience a bit about yourself and the journey that led you to create Ignite Happy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Excited to chat today. Yeah, I started my career nearly 30 years ago in accounting. I started with an inclination that the numbers were really important and focusing on results. And I have had a lot of different roles throughout my career, starting in public accounting, going to corporate America. Have been in a number of leadership roles, been in a lot of different positions. And until about 6 years ago, I didn't realize the importance of numbers. I didn't have it right. I was upside down. I realized that I wasn't bringing the best out in people because I wasn't focusing on people. And when I flipped that to be my primary focus, I started to see results explode and expand beyond my wildest dreams. And yes, they were unexpected results. They were pretty wild. And I went through an awakening. I had some light up moments, and what I've recognized is that the possibilities around us are just waiting to be noticed and found every day.
And so, love the cover. Okay, and you'll know the question I'm going to ask. Thank you, by the way, for autographing it. It's also pink pen. What's the significance of the color? And what kind of set you off on the path? Was there any one moment that told you, what, numbers are the numbers are upside down?
Yeah, great question. And I do like pink. Pink's the common thread here, so I appreciate you calling that out. I've had a culmination of events in my life that I didn't realize were really coming together. I didn't realize they were as connected until I actually went back to explore what's been going on over the last 30 years. And I had a couple big moments, I would say, that came together. One was, I call it my awakening. I actually was at a diversity and inclusion event, and I was with 24 other people. I was one of 5 white males at this diverse immersion event. And the first couple of days, we really got to know each other and got to know what got people excited, where people got their energy, got to know people's families, showing pictures. We actually played games from our childhood, bringing different cultures and ideas and thinking. We had a lot of fun. And, after a couple of days, you really get to know people in a different way, people that I typically wouldn't have reached out to, I wouldn't have sat down next to at lunch. I realized there's things that I may never have done before, until I kind of got to this point in my career in this event. And after really the end of the second day, I realized that people were just as human as I was, regardless of the way they looked or their orientation or whatever might be different than the way I see things every day. And I started to hear different stories where people were feeling they were overlooked, They were passed over. Their spouse had gotten pulled over in a white affluent town near where I live. So it's pretty close to home. There's all these injustices going on in the world and continue to be. And I started to feel terrified and ashamed because I was realizing I wasn't living out my purpose. And I was like hiding in this bubble. And I was hiding in this bubble, being ignorant and swimming around in what I thought was a great life, great world. I was living my purpose, I thought at the time. And that purpose was to bring out the best in people around me every day. And I realized that I wasn't. And I started to have this guilt and shame. And I realized I was bringing out the best in people, but it was people that were like me. So I was swimming around in this bubble with sameness. And yeah, it was a good way to connect with people. However, I wasn't living out my greatest purpose. I wasn't being authentic to the core of who I was. And so, yeah, I started to freak out, to be honest. I actually approached the group on the third day, and I asked folks if I could talk to them about how I was dishonest and wasn't completely open with everybody. And I recognized that I had these unconscious biases I wasn't aware of. And I started to cry, started to share how I think I had been pushing people back, making it harder for other people, not in my bubble of sameness. And I wasn't crying to get sympathy from anyone. I was crying because I was terrified about the air in this bubble. I was gone. I felt like I was a fraud. And when I apologized and was being vulnerable, the authentic me was coming out. People could read, could feel my energy. They could see my heart on my sleeve. As I looked across the room, people were looking at me with a mixture of feelings, some with anger, yet many filled with love and hope. And that's when I think this pink color came alive, because I grabbed the pink pen I was working on during that event and said, I'm going to change. I'm going to use this as my reminder every day. And so I've used this pink pen as my accountability reminder to be different, because I wasn't welcoming differences. So in order to make a difference, I needed to be different. So I literally signed contracts. I signed thank you notes, love letters, and I sign it with everything I do. The attorneys I work with don't like it because it doesn't fax well. It doesn't scan well in their eyes. Yet what I recognized that day is it woke me up. I had to see things differently. When I realized my bubble didn't burst, it actually expanded. And that's what allowed me to start to see the world differently. And I had seen different things pop up in my day in my life. And I had this moment with my daughter where she was finishing up her homework. I was working on my cell phone, not doing either one really well, right? I'm half in both. And she finished her homework and she wanted to have dessert. So we agreed on something of what I thought was healthy, which was a watermelon Italian ice. And they're pretty good if you've ever had those, by the way. But she had it. She finished it. She was really excited and happy. I put my phone down and I looked at her. She was smiling, really happy. And I looked out of the corner of my eye and I saw the back of this watermelon Italian ice lid. It had some of this Italian ice that was left behind on the lid. And I just think about it. I've been looking for things that were different. I started to get to the root of who I really am as a person, as my authentic self. I started to allow things to happen and not be so uptight with things. And I saw this one-eyed smile, which is on the cover of my book. It's this one-eyed smile. It's the back of a watermelon Italian ice lid. And I looked at my daughter. I took it and I turned it over. And I said, look at this. And she lit up. And then the kid inside of me lit up. And I recognized that, oh my God, this is it. This is where joy comes from. The happiness, we all have it in ourselves. And for me, it was bringing joy out in other people, and especially my daughter, of course, but it's for other humans to see what is possible. And when I saw that one-eyed smile, I realized the one-eyed smile wasn't upside down. I had to change the way I was looking at the world. I had to stop being so uptight. I had to live a little bit more with childlike excitement and wonder and awe. When I did that, my world has opened up to tremendous amounts of possibilities. And it all started from this awakening to accept differences and to be open-minded and to accept the silliness and the love and the wonder and the possibilities in this world. And that's what got me to start Ignite Happy, to ignite happy humans and organizations so they could begin to spark joyful possibilities, which then got me to write a business plan that turned into a pretty large book with a lot of possibilities and options for people to have to kind of guide themselves through happiness and inclusion that will hopefully spark some joyful possibilities for them too. So that's really the theme, is the pink watermelon ice, the pink pen. Now you got the pink book, as you already pointed out. but the pink has really started from the pink pen, that it's reminding me that differences are amazing and accepting, and especially when we allow ourselves to put each other on an equal playing field where we can believe in each other, believe in the untapped potential, then the unexpected will absolutely show up when we let our guard down and really open ourselves up to the world differently. It's been quite the journey. It's been amazing.
Quick question. So you mentioned an awakening after 30 years of working. What triggered that? Was there some specific event, or is it just that conference you had been to?
Yeah, it was that immersion event. That was the awakening of recognizing I wasn't accepting of differences. I was realizing that I had some unconscious shortcomings and tendencies that I wasn't welcoming in. So people that look different than me, or people that maybe rooted for the Boston Red Sox, because I am a Yankees fan, sorry. Or just people that had differences, I wasn't as welcoming. So I made it harder for people. I actually made it harder for people to maybe get a job. I mean, I have to admit, before that awakening, the three people I had just hired were all white males. After the awakening, I realized that there's so much power in understanding different perspectives and different experiences. And then 8 out of the next 10 were non-white males. Not to say these other white males weren't available or weren't as good. What I realized is that the non-white males were as good and powerful. When I started to put these things together, I started to understand that there were different opportunities, different perspectives that made us all better. And our results were profound. Again, more than I could have ever imagined, especially kind of being that financial person. I was always a planner, a forecaster. I could never forecast these type of results when I brought a diverse team together in this capacity. So it was pretty profound in that standpoint.
Okay, so I'm a hard question here. If I'm the head of HR, is this an NSFW book for my employees, right? I'm looking at high turnover, 15, 16, 17% turnover in some of these companies that have seen like single digit turnover for years and years. If I ignite people, does this get people out of the box, maybe cause them to shift careers, or does it create a different working environment?
It creates a working environment when you believe in it and you practice the elements of the book. There's a hospital I'm working with in Florida. One of the results has been their turnover rate went from 30% down to 7% in just 6 months. They've actually been using the book as a book club, having leaders go through this and to invite their teams and people in to experience, to listen to each other, and to find out where the joy is at their workplace, because it's going to be different wherever we work. It's what matters for them is what matters to that organization. They're less concerned about diversity because they said we're already diverse. We already represent our community. We believe in it, and we believe in that experience. Yet what we need to do is find more joy, because when we find more joy, there won't be as many people leaving. There won't be quiet quitting. There won't be negative experiences with our patients or our customers. And all those things have actually exploded based on some of the results I've seen. So I would say, take a look at chapter 14. It's all about joy at work and what can happen and what is possible when you get leaders that are actually working with a level of genuine care and interest in a unique way, in a way that actually is serving people, not serving yourself, and not serving or focusing on results first. Because I can promise you, if you focus on the people the right way, the results are going to be unexpected and unimaginable beyond what you could have planned for.
Darrin used 2 words recently in the last few moments here: intention and practice. So talk to us about how and why you structured the book in this way, because it's clearly full of intent, and there's the practice element of being engaged with it in a multisensory fashion. So for those of us out there who, don't have the book quite yet and are unfamiliar with the insides and what they look like, if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Intention is so critical if we want to change in any way, right? We need to be aware of it. We need to understand what we want to change to. A lot of folks that talk to me at first about this book or about change, people say it's a lot of work. And I say, yeah, it can be if we're not changing to the right thing. And what I'm asking folks to do is not change into somebody else. I'm asking folks to change back into yourself, your authentic self. So if we do that with the right intention, we really align ourselves to a higher purpose. that gets us excited, that gets us aligned, then the day-to-day practices should be easy. Because this is the type of work where you could think up with the practice throughout the book or other practices that you identify with to connect in the world differently, to connect with people differently. We're able to actually just make this part of our day. And why it's so important is that the experiential piece of this is that in order for us to break our habits that maybe are holding us back, like me, I had these unconscious issues where I had to get conscious again because I was living subconsciously with all the things I was told, I was taught, and I had to really shed those away. And the only way I could do that is actually taking daily steps. So having a different intention, I changed my purpose from bring out the best in people all around me to I need to bring out the beautiful light that I see in everybody. Because now when I see somebody, when I see all of you, I see there's a beautiful light ready to shine. My job is to see that and to ignite it. So that gets me to work through any barriers, any unconscious elements that I have in my mind. So if I'm doing that, I'm changing my behaviors. I'm changing my actions. And there's 100+ actions throughout the book, not for you to do, Laura, completely, right? There's probably 5 or 6 throughout the book that are really critical for you, that line up to your bigger purpose, that'll really ignite your soul. Because when you do that, then you're going to really help other people beam. And then truly, we're all going to be brighter. Yeah, especially as we're putting people on an equal playing field. But we have to be intentional. Going back to leaders in a company, if the leaders aren't intentional and asking people to walk the talk with them, then it's just going to fall away. People will say, oh, it's the flavor of the month. That's largely why things fail. It's a flavor of the month because people don't follow through. So if we actually follow through with intention and take daily practices, your habits change. And they usually tend to be happier habits. You actually will slow down. You'll be calmer. When we're calmer, we could actually be more objective and more open-minded. And when we do that, we actually kind of slow down. You ever have that moment where you just slow down, all of a sudden you see things so clearly? Hopefully it's not an accident, but hopefully it's something exciting where you're like, oh my God, I can see every step of the way. And that's what I'm talking about, is getting to that moment where we're calming down. We're not reacting with our emotions, yet our emotions are still important, but we're actually able to be objective and to see the possibilities and see with wonder and awe what is really there in front of us. And that's really the intention throughout the book. So it's really important for the listener or the reader to understand what is their higher purpose, and to really find the steps and the actions that will align to that. So you could really ignite.
Darrin, this sounds like starting an exercise program to me, really, like when I think of resistance training, or it doesn't matter, starting to run or whatever. So that's interesting. But all good stuff, igniting curiosity, happiness, all of that. But for some individuals, it could sound a little bit overwhelming. I know you pointed out a couple of steps, but what advice would you give to someone when, again, this is great. I really want to find my possible, in life, live happier, not be so judgy, if you will. But, how could I, cut this up into bite-sized chunks so I actually take a stab at doing it, and then, of course, really make progress?
Yeah, you're definitely on the right path when you say bite-sized and small steps. Absolutely, I would ask folks to think about where they are with happiness in their day and understand how you define that. A lot of people I talk to initially will say, I'm not supposed to be happy, or I'm not allowed to share it, or I feel guilty because I have it and somebody else doesn't have it. And the fact is we all need it. And we need that connection to live and thrive every day, and understanding where that comes from and what that is. Because I think it's important for us to recognize our connection to that, meaning define it in simpler terms. So the first step, I would say, define what that is for you. And then also ask yourself a simple question on, pick one word. What's a word that I really light up with, that gets me excited, that actually helps me to live differently in the world? One word. It starts to get you on a path of a higher purpose. It's just the first step. Because writing out a purpose statement, that's too much. Start with one word. Like my word this year is love. I think I was, 2 years ago, I was pretty squishy. Like I could barely say the word love without feeling off. Like, how am I saying this inappropriately or something? So it's like, no, I love all humans. I love all of you there, like out listening. I love you all here on screen. It's getting more comfortable by just practicing these little steps. And throughout the book, there are some really easy examples to start with. to think about. And those are a couple you can start with right now. One could also be is for the listeners is to when you wake up in the morning is to look at yourself in the mirror and not judge yourself the way you look or anything or about what happened the day before, but just to say to yourself what you're grateful for. I know we've all heard that. Let's be more grateful. Let's have more gratitude. It's real. It works. If we could start that practice every day, what are you grateful for? Because a lot of times you're going to connect back through that in your day. Say to yourself, what is my purpose word today? What is that one word? Is it love? Is it ignite? Is it enlighten? Is it elevate? A positive word. Please choose a positive word, of course. What is that word? Because I think if you say that word, those two things in the morning, you're going to start to see things differently. You're going to start to slow down and say, oh my God. For example, I had my word a few years ago was thrive. And I was driving behind somebody, the license plate was thrive. I'm like, what? Those type of things. But it, gave me a smile. And, I was kind of waiting for someone to move next to me so I could pass them. But it just slow down, enjoy life, thrive. Like those type of things are going to show up. So I think those are a couple of things that I think your listeners could start with. And then as you venture down the path of possibilities, there are a number of connections that we could really invite the world in differently. We could be more inclusive. We could have an open mind where we're actually willing to take in different perspectives and we can get curious to see what's out in the world. So we could actually spark the things that we might have lost from our childhood, like happiness or love, or like creativity, or the ability to wonder again. Because all those things, they fell to the wayside when I started to get serious with responsibilities and being an adult. Like I think my most innocent self was back when I was a paper boy, and I was trying to really spark people to share what's important to them. And that's when I realized I was probably free from any unconscious bias, and I was free of living out what I was told to be or told to do. So I think those are things that I think we could do too, is to understand, hey, when was I my most innocent self? When was I my happiest self? Like these are things we could just go back in time and reflect on. And when you're waiting at a red light, or when you're waiting for your coffee to warm up or your shower to warm up, those moments in time, we could just reflect and think about how we could actually take that forward.
Okay, so I'm going to take another angle. Same question, okay? Love the book, but, I'm your editor. No, it's got to have, live your possible in only X days. This is a lot of good exercises in here. How long does it take me to legitimately get through? Mary and I are going to do a book club. She's good at this stuff. She's going to keep me on track. She runs exercise classes for us here. How many days, honestly, to work through something like this,
yep,
feel like you got meaningful change? I've heard a lot of cliches about habits take 14.75 days. What does it really take to work through something like, a program you built for people?
Yeah, people have shared with me that they're seeing different results within the first 30 days. And I have seen for myself, and for many people, it takes 2 to 3 months to see sustainable change. So yeah, you can develop new habits, and I think you're right. It's under 30 days. I've heard all different stats from 20 to 29. Yeah, I've seen it to be sticky and sustainable. It needs to be a couple months. Picking on key behaviors that are tied to something bigger and really important to you that you're going to follow through on, and then you're going to see the change, and you're going to see things light up in front of you that have always been there. You just never noticed before, and it's real.
So you have a chapter in your book, and you talk about defining AI differently. And I think it's interesting for the work that we do in the innovation space. But you define it as authentic inclusion, which I find curious, and I really like that piece of it. So talk to us a little bit about how you see this version of AI potentially impacting us as people going forward, especially in a tech-driven world.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great point, because I think when a lot of people hear future of work, it's all about technology. And I think when we talk about success, we've kind of pushed people to the side. So I was being a little, I guess I was having a little fun with that AI comment, because authentic inclusion is all about bringing the people back into the conversation. I recall that when I was with a large company and we started to say, hey, our people matter, and we believe in our people, and we believe our people have untapped potential. That's when we started to see results really take off using technology too. We needed to bring in different technology solutions Yet what we realized, we needed to be more authentic with our people, and we needed to trust our people. We actually needed to actually involve our people. And that's, to me, is authentic inclusion, where we actually are feeling comfortable to bring people to the table to be part of the solution, to invite their input, to make it safe so they can be more creative, so they can actually get involved with things maybe they're uncomfortable with because they're going to grow. And when we do that, we actually truly innovate and discover things that we probably never could have imagined. Because I can tell you, there's a team where they were self-starters, and I had changed my development practices where I used to say, hey, you got to go develop something that's going to make you better in your job. And then I went through this awakening, and I said, you know what, go do something that's really going to excite you. And they did that. So these folks would come back in with different skills, and they would actually apply it to their job. And what we ended up doing, this one small team had created a data warehouse that actually brought many platforms together, where we can then hook up and connect different reporting capabilities that are not only our customers, but our internal stakeholders were thriving for. We couldn't figure out until we actually had folks that are actually bringing different perspectives and pieces together, authentically asking them, hey, we need your help. And it's bringing the pieces together. It's that intersection. Right? I love the intersection of playful and possible, and that's kind of what this AI is. We need both. We need the technology, but we also need the human beings that run it. And that's the same thing with the results. Results don't just come from solutions that are technological. It's really, we need the human beings that are actually going to run it too. And we need to make sure we don't forget about that.
So, Darrin, you worked for a fine institution for many years. Okay. It was known, though. It was, the IBM of this. That was the company. It's very, had a reputation for very kind of narrow line here. Now you're an entrepreneur, you're a speaker, you've got a consulting business. What are some other stories you can share with us of people who've really, changed, as a result of going down either your exercise or ones very similarly?
Yeah. Thanks for that. There's really good feedback that people have really opened up to. There's some, for example, there's an organization that is also having another book club, and what they've realized is that they never really thought about inviting the whole organization to the table to have this book club or to have these conversations. And what they've realized is they were surprised and shocked how many people wanted to be involved, because it was a safe way to have people open up and share ideas and share thoughts. And again, they've said their experiences internally have shifted, because it's important for employees to feel like they're involved and they're engaged, because everybody talks about engagement, yet getting people involved is really the answer, involved in a way that the organization will actually do something with it. And this group did it, and their employee experiences improved. Guess what happened? The customer loyalty scores went through the roof in a good way. The net promoter scores is one example. On a personal level, there's been so many people that have reached out. They're noticing this one-eyed smile. I call it a WG. It's a watermelon guy that's on the cover of the book that I described earlier. These are being found all over the world. I'm getting notices, text through Instagram, and it's just pretty cool, because people say, hey, Darrin, I started to get connected differently in the world, and I saw this one-eyed smile show up out of nowhere. Like, it's everywhere, because it's just two simple things. And the circle and the smile really represent so many unique things that people are telling me about their story that they're connected with, and how they're living their possible, and how they're celebrating life in a different way, and how they're seeing things more clearly. And it's really a sign that we are accepting ourselves as unique beings, as happy beings. Also, there's been other folks that have gotten new jobs, that have gotten acting gigs, that have gone to their doctor and said they are the healthiest they've ever been. So it depends on who you are and what you do with the steps in the book. I think another person had said that they actually recognized that they had some unconscious biases, and they needed to change and needed to do things differently. And, one of the stories the person connected with the most was the learning from how to be an ally. It's more than just being an ally or a sponsor to another person. It's really about being a human being, like bringing out the best in someone, because you want to share your platform, or share your privilege, or share your voice. And this particular story, I remember helping someone get noticed and get a promotion and move on and do wonderful things. And as I wrote up the story in the book, I remember saying, oh yeah, it was my voice that helped to get her to the next level. And then I asked her to read the article or, the chapter, and she's like, no, you did help, but I didn't need your voice. It was my voice, not mine. She said it was her voice that made it happen. And what I realized is that, all I am is that person I'm a megaphone, and I needed to move the megaphone from me, just kind of blurting from the mountaintops, and just really move it to her voice. And when her voice was heard, she's done amazing things. And that, to me, was a learning. Like I continue to learn every day on how to practice some of my own advice. And that was one as an example to say, I need to get her input and inclusive input. And I realized it isn't about me. And that's been the biggest learning along my journey. It's not about me. It's about bringing the joy out of my daughter. It's about bringing the joy out of the person I was just speaking with. And I'm hearing those stories are being repeated back to me. And that makes me feel amazing, because I think this is a rippling effect that it is trickling out there. And I think people are practicing in the way that they feel comfortable.
If you were to leave our listeners with 2 to 3 things to take away from today's conversation, what would they be?
And can I actually just say 2 or 3 things to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like you could
actionable
do
items. Yeah.
Right. 3 things I could do in the next 3 days that would start that change process. Yeah,
no, it's great. I do think what I mentioned earlier, one of these is that moment of gratitude in the morning, and thinking about where what that is for you, and maybe where joy connects to you there. The second thing I would ask yourself is to identify that single word that you can really say to yourself that you want to really connect to every day. A word that's positive, something that's action oriented, something that you could really you could build out in your day and connect with that during the day. And I guess the last thing I would just ask you to to believe in yourself and believe in other people, and believe that everybody has this beautiful light. Start to look at people differently instead of just looking past people or judging people. Believe there's a beautiful light inside all of us that's waiting to come out and shine. Those 3 things, I feel those are 3 simple steps. I think you'll start to see a change. I think you'll start to believe in things a little bit differently. You might trust yourself a bit more. You might trust others as well.
Joseph, last question, final thoughts.
The final thought, I guess, is the comment about the childhood curiosity. I think as we all age, you mentioned, we lose that curiosity, we lose that creativity. But when you think about life, you kind of start at one point and almost end up at the same point, just older.
Yeah.
Do you think older adults can find that curiosity and creativity?
I do.
Yeah.
I think all adults can. I don't want to classify older. I'll say that.
Yeah, fair.
I say that because if you're 35 or 45, whatever age, I don't think it's ever too late. I do agree that there's a moment where we start to slow down and start to reflect on, I wish I did. And part of what I'm trying to get out there is to say, yes, you can right now. You are possible right now, no matter where you are. So I'm trying to meet you with where you are with this book. There's a number of stories and actions that I think can really connect with people. When you think about creativity and wonder, to your point, there's a study in the book that I talk about that like NASA and some other entities actually use, where they actually have tested kids that are 5 years old, their ability to be creative versus adults that are, 35 to 45 on average. And 98% of the kids on that test showed that they had passed the creativity skills. Like they showed they have it. What percentage of adults do you think scored positively on that test?
1%.
Hammered out of us.
Exactly. 2% was the answer.
Yeah.
In some studies, it's 0. So 0 to 2%, you're spot on with the 1%. Think about that. Where did it go? So it's like we get so serious in life as if somebody pulled this dimmer switch of possibilities, hope, creativity, light, whatever it is. And this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to ignite this creativity back so we can start to live with wonder again, with childlike excitement. It's all within us. The kid's in us. we just got to allow ourselves to be that authentic person and self that I think we can be.
We've been institutionalized.
Yes, we have been. We've become robotic. I don't know if you guys work with people or see people that are kind of very robotic or maybe too uptight. I was uptight. I was so uptight. I was following a program until I really let my guard down, which is my bubble bursting. I welcomed the world in differently. I started to invite it. And as I started to invite it, I started to go out to this bigger path, which was filled with possibilities. And it started to get stronger. The connections were stronger. And my smile became bigger and other people's smiles were bigger. So creativity, it's a great question. I appreciate you bringing that out, because as we start to live with wonder, we're able to accept that one-eyed smile. I think when I shared this one-eyed smile with some people, they're like, what are you talking about? Well, I felt judged. And when I realized this is bigger than me. This is bigger than me. This is about bringing the beautiful light, the unique light that's inside of all of us. This one-eyed smile is a unique smile. And each one that's found is reminding me that we are all special and unique, really ready to burst with all this unique stuff and filled with possibilities. So it's definitely connected. So I appreciate you bringing that back up.
Yeah, Mary.
Sorry about that. I was trying to find the unmute button. So I love what you just said. And I thought about a quote that was in your book that you took from, the Troll movie, which I thought was hilarious, about, everyone has happiness inside them, and they just sometimes need someone to help them find it. I'm paraphrasing it. Can you just quickly talk about that? Because I think that sometimes people maybe know that they have this, again, happiness, curiosity, whatever inside them, but maybe they don't have someone to help remind them. So what could individuals like that do? Because that kind of struck me throughout the book, because I know it was like go it alone, or find someone that you can have as a sort of a guide, or someone like that would keep you accountable in your journey of change.
Yeah, that's great. If you haven't watched the movie Trolls, definitely go watch it. But I would ask you to watch it with a kid's eye. So, it's interesting because I don't know if you recall the movie. The villains said they had to find the trolls and eat the trolls to be happy. We're kind of taught that in our society. We have to eat certain things or buy things to be happy, right? There's tons of commercials. I don't know if you ever go to Dairy Queen, but that's a place that all talks about happy all the time. It's like Happy Place or something like that, where you'll hear it on the radio, I swear. But if you listen for the word happy and how we're being told to buy and eat things, it's counter to what we really need to do, is to really connect with the things in the world. Being able to connect what really means something to us, that really lights us up. And yes, the book is there because it gives you different practices yourself. If you want to do this yourself, you could actually connect with the world in a different way. And I do invite you to partner up with somebody, because I do think that helps. And that definitely comes from the Trolls movie, because I think when you partner with somebody, they're not there to beat you up. They're really to pick you up, to have you sing your happy song, to have your vibrant colors come out, right? That's the whole point. And to encourage you, like, hey, I saw this one-eyed smile today and I was in this, this mindset. I can't believe it. Or, I'm really practicing this word thrive, and I found this word thrive. So I literally was doing these challenges with, a really good friend, and I was doing this type of work, and I was alone too, until I was texting this person like, hey, this happened, that happened. And it just gets energizing. You could also post things, or, go to my social sites if you want to share anything, if you don't have somebody to share, or send me a note. I'm happy to respond back, because I'd love for you to get on your journey and start to find the joy that's there, because it's there. As you said, we all know it. And that's the thing, is we've been taught a lot of these things. We just are too busy doing other things. And it's really getting back to that daily practice of waking up. Here's what I'm going to do today. Here's what I'm going to focus to it, and to that special word. And here's what's going to bring me joy. So if I say these things, our behavior starts to kind of lean towards that. We start to lean in differently. Maybe we allow our kid self to actually come alive, and everything takes off. But definitely watch the Trolls movie, because you might have a laugh or two after listening to this.
Well, Laura, that's number 4 on the list. Watch the Troll. Watch the.
I am well versed with Poppy and the whole gang. I have 2 kids, and I have to say, when you talk about looking at things through a child's eyes, I have a son who's about to be 7, and he'll ask me questions. And at the heart of the question, it's something very simple. But the way he asks it, and then he looks at me, and I'm thinking, do I give him the real answer or do I make it up? And so I'll often tell him things that are the truth. But before that, I will give him 7 other reasons why the thing is how he asked it was, just because it's like, oh my God, you're right. I've never thought about why the leaf is 7 colors instead of 6 colors, and why it fell on the front of the leaf instead of the back of the leaf, or whatever the caterpillar question is. But he has me thinking all the time. And actually, when I'm stuck on what to post on social media for the accounts, I ask him questions, and his answers help prompt me to think, oh, okay, that's a good idea. I'll go do that. So I think it is valuable. And even if you don't have children, or if your children are grown, watch the Trolls movie anyway, because it is absolutely hysterical. And I think it will ignite some happiness.
Yeah, no, I love that too. There are other, in the back of the book, on my website, there are other books and other movies you could watch too. And I agree with you. The movie's hilarious, especially if we actually let our guards down a little bit and just be a kid with a movie. And I love how you asked your kids questions when you're stuck, because that's a great example of being inclusive. And guess what? You got a different perspective, and one that was maybe better than you ever could have thought of, because your mind wasn't in the right spot. And I've seen that a lot. My kids tell me so many amazing things that I couldn't believe were sitting there right in front of me. So I'm with you. It's a great perspective. And, we have to stop being so serious as an adult.
So
really open up differently.
Live your possible. Darrin Tulley, thanks so much for time and spreading a little bit of joy with us. We appreciate the time. We'll put links to your books and social accounts in our show notes. Thank you for the time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Okay. Well, thanks, Laura, Joseph, Mary, and thanks for the listeners. Give us feedback. We listen. And, join us again next week for another episode of Prime Life. Thanks.